living in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. In this video, we're going to talk about new construction versus resale. And I don't know if you know it or not, but Lakewood Ranch, Florida is the #1 multi-generational community in the United States, and that's based on new home sales. So I thought it would be very appropriate to take a look at pros and cons of new sales, of new construction versus resales. So coming right up, we'll get into that video. In this channel, Living in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, we put out videos each week about what it's like to live, work, and play in our area. Not only Lakewood Ranch, but the surrounding communities. So if you'd like that information, just click that subscribe button and ding the little bell, and every time we put out a new video, you'll be alerted. So we get calls every day from people just like you who want to know more information about living in Lakewood Ranch. So please don't hesitate to give us a call, shoot us an email, or send us a text. But back to this video. So what is it about new construction versus resales that are so interesting and make it a very competitive market here for sales in Lakewood Ranch? Well, I know not only from a real estate agent, but also from personal experience, because we just completed a purchase ourselves. And of course, it brings you back to all the things that your clients are doing as they go through the processes, which we just went through. And sometimes it's good to get a refresher course on what it's like to be the buyer in those kind of situations. So if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you what we made a decision on and why we based that decision on what we did. So the first thing that I want to talk about is on new construction, there's a lot of added extra costs that are not reflected in the purchase price. So let's just say that you bought a house and it was $750,000 or $500,000 for a new construction. So the buyer in that case is paying the dock stamps on the deed, they're paying the builder's fees, they're also paying higher closing costs. So there's a lot of extra added costs that go into buying new construction versus a resale that is not on paper when you go to sell your property. So on a resale, the dock stamps on the deed, which is a tax, is borne by the seller. And then there's also not the new builder fees. So there's some things that you want to take into consideration there when you're making a purchase, whether it's new construction or resale. The pros for the new construction are that it's bright, it's shiny, it's new. You've got a clean palette to work with. Who doesn't like that quote-unquote new car smell when you go into a home and you see all the glitz and glamour of the models that they have put together to give you a creative idea of what you can possibly do with the new construction. Another thing about the new construction is it's up to standard building code. So in 2020, it's going to be up to all the hurricane standards, all of the things that you would want in a home when you're in Southwest Florida. Now, the con for the resales are the roof is going to be older. You might not get as good insurance rates because of the building codes of whatever time the home was built. You might have hurricane shutters that you actually have to put on the house rather than maybe having a hurricane windows if they actually come with the new construction. So those are two things that weigh heavily on people's decisions when it comes time for a new construction or resale. Next on our list of pros and cons is let's talk about landscaping. When people are driving through a neighborhood, how tall are the trees, how mature is the landscaping, and that's something that you get with older neighborhoods, ones that have been built out for several years, because it's much more lush, it's much more viewer friendly, if you will. We see a lot of people out walking, and it's nice if you're walking in the shade rather than in the heat. So in the newer communities, you're not going to have all that established landscaping. It takes time to get it up to par, I would say. And also think about this too. When you buy new construction, you're probably going to add some landscaping material. The builders usually don't put in a lot of good, healthy, thick, tall bushes, and so that takes a lot of time for it to get established. So I see a lot of people going in and adding landscaping to a new construction home. So you have to take that into consideration as part of your cost as well. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget to hit that little subscribe button and ding the little bell so you'll notified every time we put on a new video. The last tip, and I think one of the most important tips, is it is best to get a real estate agent that knows new construction. I had clients one time that were coming down to make a purchase. The builder sent them their final closing documents, and they didn't actually have the CO, which is certificate of occupancy. So they scrambled. They had their furniture in a truck, they had their pets with them, their family. So we worked it out where the builder put them up into one of their model homes until they got the certificate of occupancy. Those things can be very, very tricky when it comes to new construction. Another thing is that you're going to close when the builder says it's time to close. So you're going to go do your walkthrough. They're going to give you something to check off for all the things that they need to do after closing, and you might have the attitude of, well, we're not closing until all these things are fixed. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's written into the contract that you're going to close when the builder wants to close, and if you don't, then they're going to charge you a certain amount each day that the closing is extended. So you have to be very careful. That's written into the language of new construction. So there's some particular things that would be very helpful if you have an experienced agent to get you through the new construction process. Now, it does not cost you any more to have an agent help you with that. That is all built into the builder's price when they price out the home, and they've also signed an agreement with the multiple listing service here in the Sarasota Manatee area that they're not going to discount it because they're not using an agent. So irregardless, the purchase price that you get is going to be the same whether you have somebody helping you on your side as an agent or not. So hopefully you'll get yourself a good agent that knows the new construction and knows what to point out to you in the contract so that you're aware of those things. We represented another client on a community that was a marina community, and in the brochures it indicated they had pictures of boats sitting in the water, that you could have your boat in the water at the marina. Well, there was a mandate that they had that said you had to have a boat lift, and this particular client didn't want their boat on a boat lift. So we were able to negotiate them out of that particular contract because they did not want their boat on a lift. Now, what happens if the house doesn't appraise for the value that you purchased it? Did you know in a new construction contract there's something in there that says that even if it doesn't appraise for your contracted price, you're still making the purchase? Well, that becomes very sticky when it comes time for closing and you feel like you're buying something that is not your investment price. So those kind of things are very important to try and have someone on your side. And now, as for me, what did we do? We did buy new construction because we wanted a south-facing lot. We wanted it over a pond area, and the resales that we were looking for in our price range, we just couldn't find anything that was available, but we did find a vacant lot that we made a purchase on and ended up building a home. So there's lots of things. You go through the design center, and then you have to check and make sure that the design center did what you asked them to do. We had a couple of issues there. Also on the elevation of the house, we asked for one elevation and they made it to a different elevation, so we had to get that changed. So there's a lot of little bitty steps in between each of the processes that you have to stay really on top of. Now, the builder was okay in getting these things done, but it was still a struggle, and it's very it puts you under a lot of pressure to try and make sure that you've gotten what you've paid for. So new construction isn't always easy, but in the end, we're satisfied with the end result, which is a beautiful home that we really wanted. So hopefully this is going to help some of you all decide whether it's resale or whether it's new construction. But anyway, however it ends up being, we'll be glad to help you. I'm Mark Bamig with Michael Saunders and Company, working in the Lakewood Ranch area.